are thinking of moving to the greater Phoenix area, you're probably already just looking online at how much housing costs. But housing is, although the biggest chunk of where your paycheck's going to go, it's not the totality of it. So in this video, we're going to talk about the cost of living in Phoenix and also where you get the biggest bang for your buck. Don't go anywhere because I'm going to break it down in the top areas that the majority of your income is going to be going to. And yes, we're going to start with housing. Now, I think we would all agree the biggest chunk of your paycheck is going to go straight to housing. So you want to know really where housing is. And overall, the greater Phoenix area, when you take our three different markets, we have retirement communities, we have uber luxury communities, and then we have the mass general population. When you take all of that, mix it together, the greater Phoenix area is coming in at 18% higher than the national median. But we are also showing a strong income, which kind of changes our Sunbelt numbers when compared to some of the other Sunbelt areas like in Florida or even in Southern California. Now, when you look at Scottsdale alone, just Scottsdale, that's more than double the national median, but that doesn't mean you have to spend that much living in the greater Phoenix area. Here's the top 4 cities that, based on the income median for that area and the housing costs, where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. The top newest one, I think, that everybody is quite surprised about is Peoria, Arizona. Peoria has an older part of Peoria, and it also has a newer part of Peoria. The newer part of Peoria, oh my gosh, I'm like tongue twisting it, north of the 101. So further north, a little bit northwest, we are seeing an abundance of luxury homes. And this is going to be an area that you get the biggest bang for your buck. The median income is $94,000. Let me preface that with the national average. No, medians. These are all medians. In 2022, again, they don't have super current information. So everything you're going to be looking at is a couple years old. But in 2022, the median income for the United States was $75,000. In Peoria, 2 years ago, it was $94,000. I can tell you already it's up significantly from there. But the point is that is 26% higher than the national median. The cost of living is only 10% higher in the city of Peoria. And again, these are for luxury homes. There are some absolutely over the top, relatively new, amazing homes in Peoria. People that, agents even, that don't look in the Peoria area thinking that all the wealth is on the East Valley are quite shocked. I think Peoria is going to be one of the hottest spots when you look at Phoenix growth over the next 20 years. The second city that delivers the biggest bang for your buck is going to be Glendale. Glendale comes in with a median income of $91,000, which is a 21% higher than the national median. And the cost of living is only 2% higher than the national cost of living. Now, the challenge with Glendale is that it's landlocked and, well, the only new construction in Glendale that you will find is going to be smaller communities, like one builder that builds maybe 20 or 30 homes in a court or maybe a couple of streets in the middle of the already established Glendale. Overall, Glendale doesn't necessarily have the best crime rate numbers. I would encourage you, if you're thinking about living in Glendale, to look that up on crimegrade.org. But again, with 21% higher than the national median and only paying 2% higher for cost of living, you're going to see the benefits even if you buy an older home in one of the more desirable areas in Glendale. One of my favorites is Arrowhead, and I'll tell you, anyone at any price point can walk around Arrowhead and fall in love with this area. It is stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. There are lake communities. There is golf course. It's freeway access. There's shopping in every different direction. There is fantastic schools and obviously top employers. Coming in at number 3 is Avondale. Now, this is quite a shock because just a few decade ago, I wouldn't say decades, well, decades ago, and 10 years ago even, it was either farmland or really old homes. Avondale has really stepped up, and there is a lot of amazing new construction communities in this area. The mountain views just at the edge of Estrella Mountain is absolutely stunning. And being right off of Interstate 10, you have accessibility to already existing shopping, dining, and you're not too far from entertainment. Avondale's median income comes in at $89,000, which is 19% over the national median, and the cost of living in this area is only 5% higher. So you can see you get a pretty good bang for your buck. But Avondale, I would just say this: be careful of two things. Number one, you're going to want to pay attention to where those, I call them power towers, are. There's a lot of them over here in Avondale. And the second is where the current and established dairy farms are, because even though you might not have it nearby, you might have smell, you might have excess dust, and you might have excessive flies in this area. Coming in at number 4 is kind of my go-to every single time when I talk about your best bang for your buck. And it's quite surprising that the income is this high in this area. And this is none other than the city of Maricopa, which is part of the Phoenix metropolitan area, but is in North Pinal County. There are so many great things about Maricopa that I just, it's the one ginormous negative is the one freeway in and out called the 347. It is an absolute nightmare. And how our governor moved the tax dollars from the improvement on 347 to elsewhere in the state is beyond me. It's bad. I'm not going to lie. But if you do not have to be at work at 8 a.m., or you can come home at a different time of day, like 2 p.m., maybe work half day in the office, or maybe come home later at 6 or 7 p.m., it's really not that bad. The benefits outweigh the big negative tenfold. The median income in the city of Maricopa is $88,000, which is 18% higher than the national median. Housing prices, those start in the 300s. If somebody calls me today and says, I want to spend $800,000 in Maricopa, that's almost impossible. I'm not going to say it is impossible, but there's no need to spend that kind of money in the city of Maricopa to get you your dream home. The cost of living is only 6% higher. And here's the thing again, if you don't have to be in an office in the Phoenix area, everything in the city of Maricopa is you're self-contained. Now they are working on expanding their medical care. They do have the beginning of a hospital there. It's called exceptional care. And it will, I would say over the next 5 years, you will have a lot more medical care. But in the event of an emergency, the flight for life to Chandler Regional, which is the Trauma 4, is only like a 5 to 7 minute helicopter flight. So overall, out of those 4 cities, I'm going to tell you, Peoria is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, especially over the growth over the next 20 years. Like Peoria is going to blow us all out of the water. Maricopa is the best bang for your dollar today, and it has everything already. So let's move on to the next thing that really is important to everybody. I kind of touched on it there with the city of Maricopa, and that's healthcare. Now, when we look at medical health care in the greater Phoenix area, it only comes in, well, I shouldn't say only, it comes in 5% lower than the national median. There is a lot of healthcare out here, and it is growing exponentially. We've actually had a lot of people in the medical industry, whether they're anesthesiologists or they're specialists or doctors or nurses. People are moving here like crazy with the growth that we have in healthcare. Everything from specialized healthcare to obviously the world-renowned Mayo Clinic is here, to also several different types of hospitals. We have Banner out here, we have Honor, we have Exceptional, like I just mentioned. I can't even remember, Desert Samaritans. We have several different hospital groups already here. I would recommend this. Depending on where you're coming from, you're going to want to do some research, whether you're starting your family or you're wrapping up your amazing life and you're coming here as your final place to enjoy life. Boy, there's not a nice way to say that, is there? You're going to want to check into the healthcare, especially if you're coming from the West Coast. One of the really prominent healthcare providers in the West Coast is Kaiser. We do not have Kaiser in Arizona. I really do like that. I also liked that there was always these like Kaiser campuses. And so the hospital was there, but was that's also where all the doctor's offices and the visits and therapy and everything was in one area. Well, I guess that could be a positive here because you know what? There's not just hospitals here or campuses, they're all over. So whether you're looking for a dermatologist or you're looking for an oncologist or if you're looking for a heart specialist or an ENT, they're all over the valley. They're not just in one or two concentrated areas. And I know everybody thinks that all the medical care is in Scottsdale. And although there is great healthcare in Scottsdale, there is even more healthcare in East Mesa and so many choices. I had a little bout with cancer a few years ago and I had to go somewhere for radiation. And I had several different facilities that I was able to go in, interview, and find the perfect one for me. We will continue to see that growth with choices, doctors also taking new patients, but you're just going to want to take definitely take some time to do research to better understand the medical plans out here. If you're coming here and your employer's paying for it, make sure you do your research and ask for the right program so that you and your family are taken care of. Another large bucket that we're going to talk about is transportation. And people don't realize how car reliant we are here. Now, we are going to see an overall 5% higher cost for transportation costs. But I'll be honest with you, I know where that comes from. It's our car insurance. We have lower price gas. I'm not going to say all the time because I'll tell you, we in here in the Phoenix area, we live in a valley. We have mountains that go all the way around us. So we don't see a lot of wind. So what happens when we have a lot of gasoline, fuels, and we have companies and we get pollution? Our air quality is not the best. I myself come from California, had horrible allergies there. I came here, I have none of those allergies. I even am lucky enough to have a dog now. But so the air quality affects people differently. So if that's important to you, you're going to check that out as well. But the transportation, we don't have toll bridges. We don't have the paid HOV lanes. For parking, we don't have paid parking really anywhere except for in downtown Phoenix, parts of Scottsdale. And that's kind of about it. Free parking, like that's amazing. Like in California, you guys have like you have to prepay for parking and in parks and stuff. Now our national forests are a little bit different, and there are some trails even in Maricopa County that you do need to park, but that goes to the beautification and the maintenance of those trails. Needless to say, back to the transportation. Let's talk about car insurance. Car insurance is a little pricier, and like I said, it all goes back to transportation costs go up, and it's all because of our car insurance. The reasons are this. Number one, we have high accident rates. Oh my God. Nobody knows how to drive in Phoenix. I didn't realize how bad it is because I feel like I drive in the middle of the day when people aren't as stressed. I do that obviously on purpose. I don't go drive jerk commute out times, but when I do, and I have been in Maricopa trying to leave at like a 5 o'clock time frame. Oh my gosh, moms in minivans are even cutting you off. Like it's insane. So we have a lot of people coming in from a lot of different places. I don't know if because our accident rates have gone up. You know what else we have a lot of is going the wrong way on our freeways. I don't know what the problem is other than this. Again, California, when you're exiting a freeway, you are in the far right lane and then you do the big loops, right? In Arizona, you don't. I'm so Arizona now. I think it's the other way around. So if we're exiting a freeway in Arizona, you get in the far right lane, but in California, if you're exiting, I think you get in the far left lane. I don't know. People just drive too fast and they don't read the signals. We don't have any of those crazy freeways, with 10,000 different lanes to go to. All right, maybe a couple, but it's really not that bad. I don't understand why people have so many accidents. The second reason, and this is a big one that our insurance is so high, is we have a lot of uninsured motorists. And when we get in car accidents with uninsured motorists, who pays for it? The insured motorists. Why do we have a lot of uninsured motorists? Because we have a lot of undocumented residents in Arizona. And this is the butterfly effect of being a border state. And the other part of the high car insurance is we have a lot of car theft here too, and they take the vehicles across the border. So again, we got to stop that problem at the border. Don't want to make this political, but it does affect us here in Arizona. And the last but not reason, actually, there's two more reasons. One of them is we continue to just sprawl out. We're just massive roads, roads, roads. We're getting so big. People look at a map and go, "Oh, that's only about 10 miles." Yeah, if you're an eagle flying directly over, but if you're going to hit the roads, it's going to take you 35 to 40 minutes to go 10 miles. People don't realize how long it takes to go from one end of Phoenix to the other. I promise you, it's not what it looks like. And when you look on Google Maps, which I know that everybody uses that, it only tells you when there's zero traffic. So like that's what the commute time would be at 3 o'clock in the morning. But the more time you're on the road, just like anything, the more you do something, the greater probability that there's going to be a problem. And the bigger that we get, the more problems we have on the streets. And we are growing. It's unbelievable. And the last reason for the high insurance rates, because the state regulations are at such a low minimum, and with the high cost of repairs and medical costs and lawsuits, more people that don't have the right coverage, it's still getting paid by the insurance company. And so those of us who pay the insurance are truly paying the price. So depending on where you're coming from, plan on having a little bump in your car insurance. Homeowners insurance is definitely a conversation no matter where you live. When you look at where we've seen the billions of dollars that we've had hit us in 2024, should I say insurance companies? If it hits in Florida, it affected us in Arizona. If it hit us in Hawaii, California, and the Northwest, the tornadoes that have been going through our country, all of this affects all of us. So I'm not going to say Arizona is not touched, but we're not seeing as much of an influx as you are in some of these higher risk states. The highest risk that we have here in the greater Phoenix area is two things. Number one, drought. And the last thing I've never heard of a homeowner's insurance claim over drought, but that's considered a high risk area. And then the other area, or the other reason in Arizona, is our monsoons. Now, our monsoons, I hate to report, have not been excessive for a very long time. When we do get rain, it's moderate, it's nice, it's welcomed. We do a rain dance every time it's raining. Literally, we go outside and celebrate. I'm not kidding you. When we see clouds in the sky, we're just like, please rain. Needless to say, when some of these storms, and it even could be the dust storms, trees are the biggest problem. When the trees aren't maintained and they're really big and they come down on the houses, those are homeowners insurance claims. The last time we had a hail problem was in 2010. So that was a long time ago. So there's not a lot of natural disasters here. Biggest problem for homeowners here in the greater Phoenix area is homes that have old roofs. Believe it or not, when you call to get quotes, and I would recommend you get at least 3 quotes on everything that you do here. It's crazy how much of a range things are. We'll talk about that in a minute too, like what things cost here in a little bit. But on homeowners insurance, get at least 3 different quotes, and they're going to interview your home or the home that you're getting the quotes on. How old is the home? How old is the roof? Is it 2 stories? Does it have a new AC? Does it have a pool? These are all variables that obviously add to the liability. The size of the home, the reason that we are also seeing the biggest influx right now is the recalibration for rebuilding for cost and materials. So we're seeing that across the nation, and here in Arizona, no different. I mean, if you lived here already, you saw a 30 to 40% increase, but we were relatively low to begin with. So I myself have a home about 2,800 square feet. It is about 28 years old, but it has new everything, new roof, new pool, new AC, etc. And I'm paying about $1,800 a year. That is an increase from what it was in the past, just to give you kind of that general round number. Larger home, larger insurance bill. But if you have a home that backs up against natural preserve, BLM land, natural desert, you are going to also either have to be you're going to have to find a carrier that will pick you up, because that is considered a fire hazard, and or it's going to be at a much higher rate. And I know that that's where we have seen some of the biggest jumps for people. If they lived up against the desert, they were dropped. And then when they had to go shopping around, they found that some of their homeowners insurance that was probably, I mean, because again, we're talking usually these are larger homes anyways. Let's just say a 4,000 square foot home in Scottsdale that it was up against the desert. They were probably paying somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000 a year in homeowners insurance, and it probably jumped up to about $6,000 or $7,000 because now you need that additional fire hazard. So overall, it's a bump like the rest of the country, but it is not as bad as either of the coastal states. Let's talk about two other really big savings that that you get here in the greater, well, Arizona, I should say. Property taxes are the third lowest in the entire country. So when we talk about higher areas, you guys probably laugh depending on where you're coming from. Now, I'm not saying that all cities, obviously third lowest state, there's a couple states that are cheaper than us, and it depends on the community that you live in. Lots of people are being drawn to the new master plan communities, and this is also something that has been in existence in Goodyear, Buckeye, and Scottsdale in the past, and it's called a CFD. That is a community facilities district. That's an extra layer of taxes or money due on your taxes. It's in the taxes, so you don't actually see what it is. And if you go into new construction, they don't always tell you about it. They're not very upfront with that. Here's the thing, guys. When you go into new construction, know that the people in that sales office are not there to represent you. They are there to sell you. By law, they only have to do two things. They have to be fair and they have to be honest. They don't have to be forthcoming. So if you don't ask the specific questions like, do you have a CFD? What's your tax rate compared to somewhere else? Then you're probably not going to know. But here's the thing. If you live here in Phoenix, you can feel the difference. Like if you live in a regular Chandler neighborhood, you're going to be paying the 0.64, really actually very low rate, 0.64% of the value. And it's not the market value, it's the assessed value by the county. It's a little confusing, but we can get you the information when you give us a call. Also, when you look on the secondary website, you can see on there, and Redfin and Zillow will tell you what the taxes are. But then when you go to another, maybe a newer community like Eastmark or Blossom Rock or Estrella Mountain Ranch, all of these amazing master plan communities all have CFDs. So although the county only has a 0.64, there's added amount in that property tax that will never go away. So you're going to continue to pay for these amazing amenities in these master plan communities if you buy in those areas. Don't be deterred though. Again, for the reason that you get all these amazing benefits in these master plan communities, it's not that big of a difference. The biggest CFD that we have in the entire greater Phoenix area is Blossom Rock in Apache Junction, which kind of is boo. I don't like, it's an amazing community. I'm just sad. Their tax rate is at 1.1. Now, if we talk about income taxes, there's another savings that you're going to incur when you call Arizona home. If you currently live in California, just moving here, you're going to get anywhere from a 5 to 9% savings just calling Arizona home. Now, of course, it depends on which tax bracket you're in California or any other state, but here in Arizona, it's a flat 2.5%. And that's it. Utilities are a very big conversation for a lot of people because, again, bigger the house, the bigger everything is going to be, and especially heating and cooling. Now, people don't realize this, that it is more expensive. It takes more energy. It takes more ampage to heat a house than cool a house. So if you are coming from a really cold part of our country where you're running the heater 6 months out of the year, and yes, I know there are places like that, that's going to probably be an even exchange because we cool our home 6 months out of the year. Now, I know some people will argue with me, no, you don't. You cool your home 12 months out of the year. No, we don't do it 12 months out of the year because honestly, right now when I'm doing this video, it's in the January timeframe and I have my heater on. I don't have air conditioning, but heating is so cheap compared to the air conditioning. Here's the great thing about living in Phoenix to help moderate or budget your expenses for those expensive summers. After you live in your home for a year, if it's a brand new home, They will make you pay for the first 12 months up front. If it's a resale home, they will sometimes allow you to adopt the previous history of the previous owner's last 12 months. And what they allow you to do is they estimate how much you're going to be using over the course of the year, and you make the same payment every single month. Every October, they reassess the last 12 months and they look back to see if you've not paid enough or if you've paid too much, and they adjust it. I myself have been living in my house for a long time. I also put all new appliances, and anyone that tells you a 15-year-old AC is fine, it's eating up the energy, and people don't realize that. Let me tell you, with my new roof, new AC, I have amazing insulation. I have shades on my window. I have a tree that also provides shade to my house. I only pay $150 a month every single month throughout the course of the year. And for years, it has been the same. Now, it might adjust here because everybody's energy bills are going up. But I would say, again, depending on the size of the home that you're looking at, there's so many variables. But all I can tell you is if you're looking around a 2,800 square foot and two-story too, by the way, $150 a month, just to give you that. Now, water is also very different from city to city. So if you don't know, the cities each have city municipalities. This is also why like Santan Valley is not incorporated, so they don't have their own water district. And once you have your own water district, and when I say your own, the city that you live in, they pre-buy water and they store the water, as you know, for a minimum of 100-year supply. Chandler is set for over 100 years for its 280,000 people. And they've made investments in their infrastructure. And so our water is actually relatively inexpensive. And we're not going to see, we probably, they have let us know that we will see some incremental increases over the next 7 years. They're not in a bad situation like Gilbert. Gilbert shocked their residents this last year, where they've bumped their prices up like 30%, 50%. It's going up again here in just a couple months, and they're letting the residents know, oops, we did not plan accordingly. So not only are prices going up, but we don't have enough in our reserves in order to help us for our growth and what we'd already need to redo. It's kind of a mess. And Gilbert's not the only city that that's happening to, although it's probably the biggest one. We have seen energy bills and electricity go up in quite a lot of the newer cities. So again, it's trial and error. It's just like property taxes too, because the first year or two, the county assessor may not assess the right property tax, and you might think that it's one price, and then all of a sudden it bumps up because the county assessor catches up. So that's again another great reason to buy in an established area, because there's no surprises. Oh, and one last thing, you're probably thinking, why don't we have more solar? Or why don't we have more solar? I'm telling you, it's terrible out here. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. Couple of reasons. Number one, there are solar companies that not obviously are going out of business. And I have to ask why, okay? Why is nobody researching this? I'm sure they are, but those solar companies that provide the panels and the service, etc., they're not the ones that sell it. They sometimes have their own salespeople. And if you get solar, I would highly recommend you only talk to a salesperson that works for the solar panel company. But there are other companies that are like, oh, nobody regulates this industry. So we can go out, we can sell these contracts, and basically we're just the front man. So we're the one that's writing the contract. We can add on our bonus. And then once we get the homeowner to sign on the dotted line, we pass it over to the solar company. I know that sounds kind of confusing. That's what's happening, has been happening in Arizona. And I hope the Attorney General cracks down on that, because these are untrained, very young, not experienced, highly bonused individuals that are not helping our residents or our homeowners. If you are buying a new construction home, those are the heaviest hit neighborhoods, because they know you have a new home. And I don't know, for me, for a homeowner, I would be like, well, let's say I just bought a new home. Why would I want to increase my monthly cost when I have the most energy efficient home that they could possibly build today? And why homeowners aren't saying that to themselves is beyond me. It's crazy when I see new construction with solar panels. I would recommend that you at least live there one summer, if not 2 summers, to see what your actual energy bills are, because they're going to come in and tell you that your summer bills are $1,000 and you're going to wind up having maybe a big one, $400 or $500, but it's not 1,000. So when you look at the way they're writing these contracts, it's so expensive today because you need enough panels to generate energy, and most people aren't putting in enough panels. Number two, you need a battery. Most people in Phoenix aren't buying batteries. Without a backup, once the sun goes down, you're pulling from the electric company. And so you still have a little bit of usage there, some usage, and their buyback program sucks. So you're paying all this extra money for, the question would be is, what is my break even, right? So you're probably not going to break even for 10 years usually. So if you don't think you're going to be in that home for 10 years, there's really not a huge benefit. I'm telling you, solar is not amazing out here. It is more so on the West Valley, or if you have APS as your power company, but even they have changed some of their buyback programs and it's not as beneficial. All right, let's talk about some of the other smaller expenses that are out here that if you're thinking about buying a house, what that's going to be. I think the biggest surprise people are surprised about is roof costs. Roof costs, it's unbelievable. My son has an investment home. He had to get a new roof because of its age for the homeowner's insurance. So I gave him my guy's name and number. His name's Charlie. And Charlie came out and gave him an estimate for $7,000. This is a 1,200 square foot, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, older home. Okay. So $7,000. And they thought, no, it should be less than that. And so they got two other quotes. One was 9,000, one was 14,000. The same exact warranty. That just goes to show you 7, 9, and 14. Again, that's why you need to get 3 estimates on everything you want to do. Even if somebody says, no, this is the best guy, and definitely look at reviews. Don't always go for the cheap one. Now, in this particular case, Charlie has worked with many of my clients and excellent reviews. So in this particular case, the least expensive was the best one. But just to give you an idea, on a single family, let's just say 2,000 square foot home, single level is what I meant to say, that's going to be about 18,000. 2-story is actually in that scenario is going to be about 15,000. So it's not as much as many people anticipate. Another big expense when you're buying a home is the air conditioning unit. Now, of course, this depends on the size of the unit and the placement of the unit. And some of the challenges are that the way they built homes, let's just say in the 90s, the trusses are in position where you can't get the new units in. So it's a lot bigger than just going online and looking at Costco for $8,000. Okay. So if you run into that, we have several referrals that we will help you get out there. But I would say the average 4-ton unit is going to run you about $12,000, just to give you an idea. But there's mini splits that you can do in like workshops or garages or casitas that work amazing. You don't have to do a full unit. You can also get a smaller tonnage, or you can get larger tonnage, again, depending on the size of your home. Also, in my opinion, having a 2-story does not necessarily mean higher cost. If you took a 1,600 square foot single level home and a 1,600 2-story, it's going to be the same if they have the same unit and it's insulated the same amount. Just because you have a 2-story isn't more. That's fake. That's fake news.
You are fake news. Sir.
If you have a pool, let's talk about the pool. So I had an older pool that I wanted to redo. I wanted to change the tile, and I also changed mine from plaster to PebbleTech, and that came in at $12,000. I did use a company that I had to wait about 3 to 6 months to get on their list, because you do only want to do pool work like that in the cooler temp. So only in the winter time or early spring. But just to give you an idea, that's going to be about $12,000 for refinishing of a pool. Pool deck is not popular anymore. Pool deck, if you want to just repair it, you can spot fix it. The new things now are pavers, also concrete, and also just like travertine and things like that. Just like anything, everything has a style. So it's really hard to give you a price on what that might cost. Again, for spot fixing cool deck, you're only talking maybe $1,000 or $2,000. If you're going to convert a cool deck to concrete, that's going to be, if it was about the same, it's going to be about $15,000. That's something that I did. I did a stamp concrete that I absolutely love. And then if you're going to be doing pavers, it depends also if you're using pavers, maybe combined with turf, or if you're using like travertine tiles. So backyard landscaping can be a very large cost. People don't realize when you're buying a resale home, the value you're getting in the house. Even if the pool needs to be redone, if the backyard has the nuts and bolts, even if it doesn't have a pool, if it already has the irrigation system is going to run you about $3,000. If you have real grass and it's beautiful green and you want to just continue to maintain it, having a landscaper, I mean, landscapers are only like $50 to $60 a visit, and you can have them come once a month. Sorry, not, you don't want it once a month, once a week or once every other week, depending on what your landscaping is like. So labor is lower price here. Well, I guess it depends on where you're coming from. It's not too expensive. I'm not going to be cutting my own lawn, especially in the July timeframe. Now, here's the thing. Turf, if you see turf already in somebody's backyard, make sure it's good quality. It is expensive because I have real grass, I'm ashamed to say, but I was going to convert it to turf just a couple years ago, and in a very short window it went from $4,000 to $6,000. I don't know what it would be today, but you can lay fresh sod in your beautiful backyard. If you're redoing, if you're buying a new construction home, you can have beautiful sod out there for a couple $1,000s, or you're going to spend, I know someone that has done an extensive area so their dogs have a lot of grass to play, even though it's not real grass, and they spent $25,000. So when you are shopping, if you're thinking of new construction, I would suggest you also consider newer construction when somebody else has already incurred that cost. Most of the backyards that make you go ooh and ah, those are about $100,000 to $150,000. Having your home, you're going to want to have pests come by, not pests come by. You don't want your pests come by, but you want to have a pest guy come by every other month. That's going to range about $65 every other month. Here's the thing too. We have a lot of termite issues because we live in the desert. It's not a matter of if you get termites, it's when you get termites. Thankfully, they're very slow moving. These are subterranean termites, and they're very noticeable. You can catch them. They have these really ugly, disgusting mud lines. Usually you can see them on the stem wall of your home, but occasionally if they somehow get into your drywall and you can see them on the walls, you can see them on the ceilings. They kind of freak you out because it makes it look like they could drop on you, which we haven't even talked about scorpions, but the termites, in my opinion, you're going to see termites more frequently than, well, I guess it depends on where you live too. But anyways, that $65 every other month is going to serve you well. But in the event that you get termites, here's again, get 3 different estimates. I have recently helped a client. They had 3 different estimates that ranged from $650 for a 1-year warranty and it be completely done, all the way up to $2,500 for the same exact service. So again, there's a lot of weirdness out here. Just get 3 different estimates and make sure you check for reviews. As far as like groceries, I think that we've all seen the influx of it. The one thing I do have to say here for groceries, there's a lot of different choices. Yes, we have the amazing Whole Foods. We also have top of the line AJ's Fine Foods. So we have some very nice high-end grocery stores, but for those of us who can't necessarily shop there all the time, we have Sprouts throughout the greater Phoenix area. We also have Trader Joe's only on the East Valley. So if Trader Joe's is important to you, if Whole Foods is important to you, you're going to only find those in the East Valley. We also don't just have Costco, we have Sam's Club. So usually you get a choice, or you also have choices of Costco's. We have an abundance of Costco's, and they are continuing to open up here in the greater Phoenix area. We also have some of the more affordable type of groceries. We have Aldi's out here. We also have Ranch Market for Asian type of grocery shopping. There's some really good seafood discounts there as well. We also have Winco. I love Winco. I love barrel shopping. I don't know. It's just, I guess because it's so new to me. because I don't remember growing up with anything like that. So we also have Safeway, Albertsons. We have Fry's. Oh my gosh, Fry's is everywhere. And those are probably the biggest stores here. But we have, oh, and Food City. We have a lot of different grocery options, including farmers markets. The farmers markets we have throughout the greater Phoenix area, there's actually choices. You can go to different ones. They're on Saturdays and Sundays. So there's a lot of options here. Overall, I have to tell you, I come from Northern California. So there is a different parts of California. Needless to say, I come from Northern California, which is unfortunately one of the most expensive parts in the country. But here's the thing, as a younger generation, seeing my adult children being able to afford life and not have to work to live is an opportunity that many young families don't have, and I know that they feel the struggle coming to Arizona. Even if you can't afford to buy, if you're thinking of renting, our rents are higher than they used to be, but they're still cheaper than some of those other areas. I am telling you, not having to pay ridiculously high rents, being your own landlord is the biggest financial opportunity you have for your future. Get into buying a home. You don't have to spend all your time on the road. There are affordable options in just about anywhere in the greater Phoenix area. You just got to give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Check out my new website. It is amazing the way you can search around the map and just click on the different cities, and it will bring you directly to videos specifically in the area that you find interesting. The best thing to do, though, is give us a call and we will set up a Zoom call so that we can have a very personal one-on-one consultation with you and talk about what's important to you, your budget, your timeline, and needs and wants, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, thanks again. If you have any other questions or anything, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Days, nights, or weekends, we got you back when moving to Phoenix, Arizona. Bye.